Alright, so Swapped is your latest Netflix animation which revolves around a tiny little creature and a majestic bird who are enemies. Somehow, from a magic, they swap bodies and the project revolves around their survival and death. I'm gonna give you the complete explanation, so sit back, relax, and hit the like button already. Do subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'm your host Aryan with Swap. So, what is happening and why did Ollie feel guilty? Ollie's guilt is rooted in a chain of well-intentioned but disastrous decisions that nearly destroyed his community. His feelings of remorse began when he ignored his parents' warnings and befriended a bird named Javan, teaching the bird how to consume the puku's primary food source, the piplets. This act of kindness backfired when the birds returned in flocks and triggered a severe food crisis, leaving his family on the brink of starvation. This burden of responsibility weighed heavily on him as he realized his curiosity had directly endangered everyone he loved. The guilt intensified through the irony of his final transformation. While trying to fix his mistake by aggressively scaring the birds away with glass shot, he remained full of bitterness and blame towards the Javan. When he accidentally fell onto a magical pot and transformed into a Javan himself, he was forced to live as the very creature he had grown to hate. Ultimately, Ollie feels guilty not just for the famine he caused, but for failing to find the empathy mentioned in his parents' stories, realizing too late that his action and his anger had turned him into his worst enemy. How did Boogle trick Ollie and Ivy? Now, you know what? Boogle's deception was a long-term act of manipulation designed to exploit Ollie and Ivy's desperation to return to their original forms. By posing as a helpless, pouting face with a lonely backstory, he gained their trust and positioned himself as an indispensable guide who knew the location of the rare magical pots. He played on their empathy by claiming he also wanted to transform into another creature to escape his isolation and live in a community which mirrored Ollie and Ivy's own desire for belonging. This facade allowed him to lead them through the dangerous, scary rock waterfall, using them to bypass obstacles and reach the pots that he could not access alone in his limited fish body. Now, the real nature of the trick was revealed only after Ollie and Ivy had done all the hard work for navigating the current and avoiding predators. Now, once they were at the pots and regained their true forms, Boogle used a pot to transform back into the Firewolf, the legendary villain of the valley. He confessed that his sweet persona was a front. He was actually a vengeful predator who had been trapped in a fish body by the zoo as punishment for his past crimes. By feigning friendship and vulnerability, he tricked the pair into restoring the very monster their families had feared for generations, providing that his isolation had only deepened his desire for destruction rather than sparking any real gratitude for their help. So, how did Ollie die, and what is happening at the very end? Ollie carried Ivy to the Javan cliff, hoping that her community could help her. Ollie was really weary after climbing the tall hill, and the next morning, when he woke up, he thought Ivy was gone, but he was soon relieved to see her. When Ivy heard Ollie blame himself for everything that had gone wrong, she asked him to step out of the nest and see how his decision to teach her to open a piplet had saved the lives of hundreds of Javan. The Javan welcomed Ollie, and the young birds showered him with love. Ollie realized that maybe everything wasn't a mistake, and being curious wasn't a bad thing after all. Ivy had decided to help the creatures of the valley fight against the firewolf who had already started a massive fire. The Javan weren't sure if risking their lives was a good idea, but Ivy and her sisters convinced them to come together to help the other creatures of the valley. Ollie suggested that they travel to the Puku Island since it wasn't yet on fire. Even the tree wolves supported Ollie since they were grateful to him for saving their pup. The animals grabbed onto logs and made it to the island. Ollie's parents were glad to see him, but they weren't sure if letting other animals onto their island was a safe decision. So, now you know what? Ollie told him about his little adventure, about the pots, the zoo, the firewolf, and how transforming into another creature had helped him realize that they were stronger together. Ollie's father trusted his son's perspective and allowed the creatures to take shelter on their island. But soon the firewolf found them, and Ollie ran to the pit where he had found his first pot, hoping that he could communicate with the zoo via the magical roots. Then maybe they would grant him another pot. Well, he was right. His earnest request and honest dedication towards saving the creatures of the valley had earned him another pot, and Ollie used it to transform into the zoo. He hoped he could trick the firewolf and turn him back into a boogle, restoring peace in the valley, but the situation was slightly more complex. The firewolf wasn't fool enough to fall for the same trick again, and this time, when Ivy dropped the pot, loudly saying "Boogle," the firewolf ignited his fire again and the pot was destroyed. Now the firewolf climbed on Ollie, aka the zoo, and started a fire. Well, the creature was basically a massive orchard, so it wasn't difficult for the cunning wolf. And now Ollie couldn't just take a dip in the water to stop the fire because the zoo couldn't swim and therefore he would obviously drown. Ollie didn't really have too many options. He could either focus on keeping himself alive or try to take down the firewolf for the sake of all the creatures of the valley. By now, I'm sure you have realized that Ollie is someone with a big heart who would do anything for the one he loved. So Ollie used the roots of the zoo to trap the firewolf, and with all his strength, he broke down the dam that the firewolf had once created. As a result, both Ollie and the firewolf fell into the water body, and it was assumed that Ollie died for the sake of all the creatures in a valley. But no, it is not the case. So, is Ollie returning? When Ollie decided to fall into the water with the firewolf, it was a leap of faith, right? He didn't expect to survive and he was okay with it, as long as his sacrifice could guarantee the creatures of the valley a happy life. The valley mourned Ollie's death, especially his parents and Ivy. Like, is he really dead? So this wasn't the end because over time the valley healed and the creatures started to live together and help each other. The zoo returned and so did Ollie. Yes, Ollie is not dead. Ivy was shocked as well as overjoyed to see him. She asked him how he managed to survive, and that was when Ollie revealed that the zoo had come to his rescue. In the very ending, Ollie explained that the zoo had found him by the riverside and like he was a complete wreck. They used their magic pot to help Ollie transform into a puku again, and that was how he survived and healed. Ollie's parents were emotional when they were reunited with their son, and they couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the zoo. The magical mammoth-like creature bowed down to Ollie for saving the valley and allowing them the chance to reside there once again. So that's your swap in a nutshell, and now you tell me if you're loving the movie or not. If yes, then tell me how much would you rate it on a scale of 10, because if you'll ask me, then it's gonna be a solid 9 for me. Now hit subscribe for more animation content, and I'm your host Aryan. Thanks for watching, stay safe and peace out.